And there we are. Thanks for coming to class number 2. Welcome back. Looks like we just have Darren with us live, but I know Darren's going to be taking plenty of notes, and since we're recording today, nobody's going to miss a beat. And as promised, I am going to pick on everybody a little bit for at least the first portion of this to make sure that the profile is done right. I know we want to get to the end zone where we're just getting, 500,000 views, 1 million views, and everything's blowing up, and everybody's, banging your door down and trying to offer you piles of money. But this is the foundation stone. We have to get this right. So we can't roll out all of it without doing this right, because just to go viral like some of these crazy people on the internet, it's nice to go viral. It makes you feel good and wow, you're like an internet celebrity for 5 minutes. But unless that's actually tied to revenue and setting up meetings and generating leads, I don't really understand why people do it. Maybe because they don't understand how to run businesses or something. But again, we've got to get that right. So I've got my tab open. You should be seeing that, Darren, right? And yep. I've got Tom's up. I've got you up there. And then I've got Pat. Okay. So let's start with Pat.
That's got a cool new picture.
Yep. So a few things. First, I see Pat changed his URL right away. Good job, Pat. This is a great picture. He's obviously on stage doing something important. I'm not looking at mobile in front of me because I'm reading the show right now, but I would imagine, just knowing a mobile layout, I would say that this would look very well put together.
Yeah, it looks great on mobile.
Yep. Awesome. We talked about the headshot before. It still does look a little bit pixelated when I zoom in, so I would try to just see if there was a higher resolution. It looks like it's from a photo shoot. So Pat, I would just double check and see if you have a higher res thing to load into LinkedIn. Very barely noticeable, only for like crazy perfectionist people like me, but come on, just do me a solid and do it. And it looks like we still need to do a little bit more on here. But I see there were a couple of tweaks, and it's a little better. All this was good to begin with. This is good. All right. I don't think this was changed, so it is good. It's first person. It talks a little bit about who Pat is, but just if you have a moment and you look at the first course, there's definitely more on here. And again, I'm not here to just leave you to do everything. If you feel like you're struggling with something at any time, just reach out to me, constantly messaging each other on LinkedIn and whatnot, or send me an email back to that thread. I think this is such an important part, because when you have a piece and it goes viral, that's going to be the moment where that's really going to jump out. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yep. All right. Since you're here, Darren, let's do you next. All right. I see you didn't update the picture and you don't have the background. And at least you don't call yourself like business development. So like a growth catalyst is a little bit better.
That was an advice from one of our other little LinkedIn friends. It's like this 22-year-old guru.
Anybody I know?
His name's Tim Tan.
Spell?
Timothy Tan, T-A-N last name.
Oh, I know Tim. I just talked to Tim like 2 weeks ago. Tim's cool.
Yeah, Tim's working with us on some automation tools.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, good guy. I only had one phone conversation with him a few weeks ago.
I still growth catalyst from him.
Hmm? It's not bad. I mean, it at least gives me, it like conjures something about you. It's not annoying like growth hacker, right? Like enough of that.
Yeah.
I don't love fintech enthusiast, because like if it's like a hobby of yours or something, I don't know. I'd rather have that be like the claim to fame, get to the point stuff.
I had a real estate investor in there, but Sean told me to take it out because he thought it seemed distracted.
It's very distracting. And I think even this is kind of distracting, right? And like that.
And the goal there is that we're currently reaching out to a lot of fintech companies. So trying to use that as a...
I get what you're saying, right?
Collateral.
So you're trying to build a persona that you know something about fintech. I think if you, so my problem isn't the word fintech. It's when you combine fintech and enthusiast. So what is an enthusiast? An enthusiast is like a fan or a hobbyist. So it's like, I read it as I am interested in doing this on the side, or I like to read about it or something like that. I didn't read it the way that you're saying. So try to pivot it a little bit deeper into showing people that you have expertise in it, because you are trying to show that version of you, that persona, to the world. Totally
Could you
makes
literally
sense.
just say expert?
Well, do you feel that you have an expert level version of fintech knowledge?
As a salesperson, for sure. I can sell that, I guess.
I love it. Sometimes people take the word expert the wrong way. And here I am, I'd say infographic expert. So yeah, it's better than enthusiast, but just make sure you know your stuff. Perpetual networker, I also don't really like, because what does that really do? Like, you're on LinkedIn, of course you're networking, right? I get what you're saying, but I feel like, so we have these two lines of real estate. There's better stuff you can talk about your achievements and what your company is doing and how you serve people, that there should be more to it. I'm not even going to touch this. I did promise I'd yell at you at it, but do better. I could get out the red ink and put an X in it, but I don't want to make you feel bad. But just feel bad enough to, like, seriously, you got to fix that. This is still good. And all right. So let's keep, and you got your URL. I think you had that already. Mm-hmm. Let's look at Tom. Tom still has this. You got to fix that. This stuff needs to be fixed a little bit. And it looks like he didn't change this at all. So
I don't think that's been communicated.
Yep, it's okay. So don't want to spend too much time on it today. So let's jump now into, we're going to pretend that everybody did their homework, get the little hand gesture on that.
Yeah.
Not the other finger, not offensive.
Not the good one.
Just the teacher kind of saying, you could do better on your exam, kids, that kind of thing. So let's jump into this section of everybody's profile, the activity section. I'm going to click on everybody's see all on that so we can just see what everybody is doing. I'll also bring up mine as a comparative so you see where I'm going with that. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Okay. So we'll start with Patrick. A lot of people will actually look at the activity screen of different people's profiles, because if you know stuff about LinkedIn, this is where you can see the fire hose of everything about that individual, right? So if you're doing something from a sales perspective, a lot of times people just hit up people at the wrong time, and that's when they miss the sale, because you're bugging the crap out of people, right? It's like they want to know about you, right? You guys do amazing stuff for the world, but if they're in the middle of being on vacation, or if they are on maternity leave or something, if you're just socially unaware of where that individual that you're trying to reach out with is, or you think they still work at company X, but they left it 8 months ago, LinkedIn is the command center of this stuff. Of course, you can also see what they're checking out on Instagram and Twitter and this and that, but this is the business network where they're all hiding out. So you get both things at once. You get all the business conversation and a sense of whether they're online or not, right? So the activity feed part of it, that's showing you everything that they like, everything that they share, and everything that they post. So I consider content, it's not just when you do the 4 types of content posts, but it's also liking and commenting is also content. So to really amp up your profile and get noticed by the community, if you're not interacting with people, especially like the who's who of the whole creation suite of the LinkedIn profile, the LinkedIn platform, you're just kind of missing out. Because if you're not on some of these people's radar, you're just not doing enough, right? You might just be stuck in your own circle. So if you're just stuck in a circle of salesmen, well, I don't know, like they may support each other, they may like each other's stuff, but at the end of the day, I find it's pretty difficult to sell to other salesmen. Like, who would you say, Darren, is like the typical person that you want to get in front of, that either you have to then go between that person to the next gatekeeper to the final decision maker? What kinds of companies, roles? I think that will help set the stage to today's conversation.
Yeah, like a director of digital media, or ultimately a CMO is who we want to be in touch with, or a head of growth, somebody in those,
right,
I guess, categories.
That's absolutely perfect. Perfect answer. So that fits in very well with what I was thinking to say next. So right now, if everything that we had said in our profiles is all business development, sales, business development stuff, and the only people you're connected with a lot of the time are sometimes just other people that are doing that, right? Because they'll try to be like, hey, like your thing, I'll like my thing. That's nice. And we all rise together, but we'll rise like from here to here, like just this barely little incremental thing. So what's lovely about LinkedIn is a place where nobody's blocking it on their corporate firewalls, and people literally spend tons of time on there in the office and on the commute and all those other places too. So those decision makers are out there. I'm pretty sure I told you last time, there's a guy I know, he's a keynote speaker. He posted on social media for a decade, wasn't really getting a lot of keynotes. But then when he started posting like crazy on LinkedIn, he got tons of keynotes, and the people like CMOs of like Fortune 500s and stuff would notice him there, and they would be like, oh, wow, it's great to see you on social media. It's like, what are you talking about? I've been doing it for a decade, right?
Yeah.
So I think a big target of trying to get on the radar, we can do a few things. One, we can write about and think about different companies and different industries. And we should also be trying to get on the radar of the content creators, because if we kind of get in their sphere, in their circle, they're going to check out what you're doing. And guess who's watching them? Everybody you're trying to get.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to get just so many different collective clusters of things. Okay, so we talked about the activity feed where we can see what everybody's doing. I'll give you a quick assessment of how I think Pat is doing. So Pat is liking, this is not a good thing. So before we even go further, let me just tell you what I don't like about this.
Because they're all in our company?
That's only the start of it, man. So only being like incestuous about your own company doesn't make people feel like they should trust you on LinkedIn. Like, what value are you sharing if every single thing you're doing is like straight off of the company? Just feels a little off, right? So that's only part of what I don't like. So Chris wrote a post, pretty decent post, honestly. Let's take a look at Chris for a second.
He got some like 8,000 views or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
He also has a much bigger network than all of you guys. So Chris has almost 5,700 followers. Pat had 2,300. You're closing on 1,000, and Tom's beating you by a little bit. So it's a race to the finish on that one. So because he already has a much better network, and he's a president, all those things are kind of going his way. But quickly looking at, having 8,000 against 5,000 followers, it's good, but I think it could be a lot further up. But real quick though, let's take a look under the hood at his content, because I want to take a look at that post. I see some signs of hope on that. The thing is though, just everybody sharing his thing won't make your side of it blow up, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here it is. Right? Yeah. So this is the basic status update post, and the internet got really mad about these posts several months ago, and they started calling it broetry, like bro code poetry, and like TechCrunch got all mad about it. There were some people that were just doing these templates. I don't even know if they were real stories, and they were getting really heavy into automation. Ultimately, some of them actually got banned. So I would not do every post like this, because there's a lot of fatigue just on the format. So it could be great content, but at the same time, people will just shut you down because of that. So this is one of the best ways to share content, but actually nowhere near the best anymore. LinkedIn is constantly changing their algorithm. So I think we shared this a little bit on the last call, but in short, there's almost like a totem pole of importance, where if you do a specific type of LinkedIn post, it will probably outpace the other kinds of content if you talked about the same thing, but just in a different format. So the top of that
text is the bottom.
No. It's more like the middle, or almost on their way to the top. The bottom is what the kinds of stuff that Pat was doing. So when you're just sharing stuff, actually he just liked that Sean shared it. So Sean did the thing that I don't love. It's okay to share it, but like if that's all you're posting about, it's not going to go that well. Let's start with the top and we'll work our way down. So the very top is document sharing. So you may not have this feature, but by now I think you should. It's still in beta, and not everybody has it on your end?
Yep, we checked last time.
Okay, so right, so that's right here. I wanted to show you an example this week, but guess what? LinkedIn was buggy, and when I tried to load in an example yesterday and today, it's literally not working. So if you can do this on your side, Darren, I would be interested. I don't know if other people are having this problem too, but like, watch this. If I try to upload something, it just sits here forever. So frustrating. So
doesn't matter about size or anything?
I'm sorry?
If it was like less than 1 megabyte, you think that would change anything, or just?
You know, I tried smaller ones too, and I already reached out to LinkedIn support, so I've escalated it with the engineers. Nobody seems to have a straight answer for me. So I think something's just, you know, sometimes stuff's just broken. I wanted to show you more of it, but I literally can't show you that. So I can show you some of the older examples. In any case, top of the heap is the document sharing. PDFs are great, multi-page PDFs, so people can actually just swipe to the side. Next up is, I would say, video, especially when you can have an SRT transcribed file. You do that from desktop. When you're uploading it, if you click on the upper right corner, there's a spot there to upload a file. It's not super obvious, which is why I'm saying that. LinkedIn only gives you the ability to have 10 minutes of video. I'm going to get rid of this on the screen. They only give you 10 minutes of video, but that's fine because people get bored after a while anyway. I feel like the sweet spot in most things that you'll talk about is probably 1 to 3 minutes anyway, and you probably don't want to transcribe that much stuff. If you don't feel like doing all of the transcription yourself, there's services like rev.com. And there are also things like if you just upload a video in YouTube, YouTube usually will do automatic transcription through AI, but just know it's not going to be perfect and you might have to edit stuff, but that's another way that you can quickly get all that stuff going. Because if you think about it, while people are scrolling through their feed, they're going to stop when they see words on the screen. Then we have images and image collages. I don't know if you realize, but you can load up multiple images. I would try to do that, especially if you go to events or anything cool that you've got going on. Then we've got the short form broetry thing, like we just saw. Then after that, we would have the long form posts. And then we have the annoying stuff where people just share a link, like this guy here. I don't even know why this showed up, but if you're just gonna have a link, LinkedIn doesn't want you to leave, so don't do that. The other thing is just sharing other people's posts. It's not also that great. I will tell you, since we last talked, believe it or not, LinkedIn debuted something called LinkedIn Live. LinkedIn's like the last social network on earth to have live streaming. There are probably only a couple of dozen people in the world that have that functionality right now. They have a very, very, very closed group. I'm hoping to get in front of those people at LinkedIn because I'm going to South by Southwest, leaving tomorrow and going for a week. So I'm hoping to talk to some of those people to suggest potentially myself and a few other content creators. I can try hard to get you guys into the beta. It is a magnet of interest right now. I watched somebody live stream yesterday where they had 1,000 people watching live. So, I mean, it's seriously impactful. And it doesn't work any different from live streaming on other kinds of platforms, like if you're on Facebook Live or whatnot. So it seems pretty basic, and people can have a whole stream of comments on the right side. You can keep doing thumbs up and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So that's our totem pole of all the content. So back to the specifics here.
Can we run over that totem pole again from the top? It was document sharing and then video?
Document sharing, video, images, short form posts, long form posts. You know what I mean by that. That's when you go to the screen over here and you do write an article.
Chris was a long form, but like a short form would be like...
No. It seems like it's long form because it's a long post, but that is a short form. That's here. Okay. They only give you so many characters to write. And it's always nice to put in, let's say, maybe a couple of hashtags, because everybody has hashtags. If you go onto your main screen, you've got hashtags you follow, recent hashtags, and you can even expand that on the Discover More. It'll try to figure out things you're interested in. And you can see the number of people that are following, right? So if you want to write something about networking, there's 2.6 million people on that already. not too bad, right? And where things you might think tons of people follow, maybe they don't. Like you would think a ton of people are following iPhone, not too bad. But look, if you write mobile phones, for some reason it's 4 million people, right? So it's not just automatic to think about it. So I don't always dive in through this, but I kind of have some of my favorites that I feel like my audience is into. And you'll learn about it over time, right? So maybe small business. Do some time and look through this and figure out what things you're trying to hit, right? Because some of these
How do you get to that hashtag page again?
Yeah, sure. So when you go to your main feed, just the homepage, if you look on the kind of that middle bottom left side, you've got, here's hashtags that it knows that I like based on stuff I post about and stuff that I've clicked on and followed. Everybody has it. And then when I click on discover more, that's going to help me boost my content, whether I'm doing short form, long form video, any of this stuff. It should always be tagged. Don't go crazy. Don't do like 20 tags, but a few. And it'll usually pick the one that prevails and just kind of sail along with that. Okay, so sorry, I think we interrupted the middle of that with the totem pole.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep. Document sharing at the top. Then we have video. Then we have photos. Then we have the short form. Then we have the long form. And then we have everything that's like just getting people away from LinkedIn, sharing links and stuff like that. If you want to share a link of something that you thought was interesting, write a short form post about it and then say that you have a link in the comments. Something interesting that you may notice here that Chris did, you might think that's a link, but this doesn't count as a link. Do you know why?
Because it's his own company?
Because it's a LinkedIn company page. So LinkedIn likes that because you're not telling them to leave. And hey, I'll follow. I thought I was already following. There we go. Company pages are like a whole other thing. I don't think we're going to have time for it in all the stuff that we need to talk about with just everything that you guys could do with the profiles. There's definitely stuff to talk about, but I don't think we're ready to do that yet. But whoever's managing the page kind of isn't following my advice, right? Like you're linking out to stuff and people aren't going to like that. Don't. So the same rules apply here too, even more so. But you see, all of your profiles are more powerful than this page, right? This page only has 311 followers. So it's okay, not a big deal, but you see what I'm saying? Also, you'll notice it associated your page with hashtag communities. Okay, so back to Chris's post. Again, it's not the bottom of the totem pole, it's not the top, it's kind of hovering in somewhere between the middle and towards the top. And why isn't it loading? Come on, internet. There we go. Okay, so I will tell you there's definitely a group of people on LinkedIn that love the kind of stuff that Chris is talking about. Everybody likes hearing about the hero's journey, something that happened to you on your way to the top of doing your startup. They love talking about mental health. They love talking about inspiration. This is pretty good, right? But a couple things. I don't think that we have to put the company page yet, right? I think Chris has a much bigger following than the page. Right now, I think it's much more important to build everybody's profiles than doing that. So while I respect it and it's not taking people away from LinkedIn, I don't think we definitely don't want to do this on every post, but periodically I think it's okay. Obviously, the other thing that's a gaping hole that's missing are the hashtags. I also don't always put hashtags, but I'm saying if we are trying to uplift that somewhat, that's going to be a thing. Now, here's the thing. This is a pretty healthy amount. I think you said like 8,000 views. So let's take a quick look at some of the comments, because here's where the gold mine is. The gold mine should be happening right here, right in the middle of it. So the first thing that Chris should do is look when he has something that starts to take off, right? So especially now, he should be immediately looking at who's viewed his profile. Because again, a lot of the people, especially the people with the purse, they don't like, they don't comment, they don't share, they just kind of lurk and they look at stuff. So they'll look at that post and be like, huh, that Chris guy and that jump450, that seems really interesting to me. I'll think about it later. And I'll think about it later becomes distant memory. So again, you go onto your profile by clicking on me and clicking on the view profile. And then you click on the people who viewed your profile on the dashboard. And then you'll see Brian sucking at LinkedIn this week because I've been preparing for South by Southwest. But in addition to that, you'll see all the people who've been recently looking at your profile. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And as soon as you post something, that's the time to look at it hard. But that's only one piece of the command center. You should be looking at every single person who's liked it, and you should take note for people. Okay, so these guys are in your own company. That's easy. But anybody who's a second level or third level connection, you should probably look at them, right? Because they've liked your content. They've moved a positive action right into a potential meeting, into a potential partnership, referral. Who knows what can come out of that, right? And some things, they may be just kind of spammy and they like everybody on the internet, but it should be pretty obvious like what stands out and what doesn't. So like, talking to a CVS health guy isn't too bad. Somebody at BBC is pretty good, right? I mean, there's all of these, it looks like there's quite a number of pretty powerful people in here, right? So the question is, growth marketing at Facebook, great. Vice president of marketing, awesome. That like this guy should be, if you don't already have a connection to him, you should be all over that, right?
Interesting.
What's up?
That's interesting.
Yep. So let's see. Let's just take a quick look. My intuition says, let's look at this guy because he's a VP of marketing. VP of marketing means he has the power of the purse and can give you business. So he's worked at some place called Shopkeep for 5.5 years. And he used to be the CEO of some other place for 5 years, right? So let's see. Let's take a quick look at Shopkeep. Shopkeep is some software place with thousands of followers. Chances are it's a pretty decent sized company, right?
Yeah, it's legit.
So there you go. So go follow up with them or yell at Chris for not doing it. And that was me. You saw how quickly I found that, right? It's nice to talk to other growth marketing people, but what I'm doing here is I'm doing a quick scan. Now, if I wasn't like trying to do this in an hour and cover everything, I might go even further into it. But like maybe somebody like this, right? Digital account executives, or vice president of operations. That's really good. And if you guys aren't connected to these people, it's so easy to connect with them, right? So back to the Shopkeep guy. Chris could easily click on connect and add a note and say something like, thanks so much for reading my easy as that. Who isn't going to accept that invitation? Everybody accepts this, right? Because you know that they read it or at least saw part of it because they hit the like button. So this is almost a guaranteed way to get right into that guy's door. Chances are he'll friend you back or connect back within the day. And then as soon as they connect, you get that My Network notification. So the second you see that they connected, the next thing you do is you message them and you say, thanks so much for connecting. What I say is, thanks so much for connecting. How can I help? Because that's very giving and generous, and I'm not going in for the kill. If you're going to use my tactic and then write 5 paragraphs of bullcrap and then yell at me that it doesn't work, I would say, hey, remember when I said don't do the 5 paragraphs of bullcrap? Right. So that's what we're talking about. So start with something nice, compliment them, be a human, don't immediately go for the purse, but just know that pretty soon that conversation will lead into some kind of meeting on the phone, or the fact that he's in the greater New York City area. I'm sure you guys could meet over coffee, go to each other's offices. That's simple, right? You're in one of the greatest cities in the world for all this stuff. So I would say, even before this week is over, have a conversation just about this. I didn't go all over the internet to see how popular it is. I think Shopkeep is a startup or something. But hey, I mean, he handles budgets of $2 million a month, right? It's not no small thing. And he's the VP.
No, it's great.
That's the most important thing. And he's risen over time. Okay, so let's look at, so again, looking through all these, look through every single one, right? And they'll know that you viewed their profile. That's fine, right? Because you want them to. You want them to see that they're interested. I'll tell you, there are people that like, if all I do is view their profile, they'll immediately jump on me because I'm like a big LinkedIn influencer. Also, when I see stuff like this in a profile, that means it's a publicly traded company. I'm all over that, right? Like we could see how big that is immediately. You just hop on Google Finance or whatever. Okay, so I've beaten that point to death. You're going to make an awesome profile, write a good post, get some actual lift for people that are outside of your network, and you're going to go insane on this, right? This is going to be like your new leads list instead of all the other stuff that you might be doing all day. And look at this, The Atlantic, that's one of the biggest things, that's one of the biggest publications in the world. Awesome. So he's got all sorts of great stuff. Maybe he knows some of these people.
His profile.
What's that?
I'm about to go find these people.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't know how you guys are all going to apportion it, right? So if you reach out to the other people that Chris did, that's a little bit removed. So, and I don't know how much Chris wants to get into this too. So I think we should have a conversation, and we could do that by email at some point to figure out who's going to do all that. So likes, for sure, jump all over. Comments, that's even a deeper connection, right? That's somebody who was so interested they wanted to say something. So if you're Chris, you're going to like, good, I think he did, you should at least like every single thing in here. Now, the bigger the post gets, like sometimes I have thousands of likes and hundreds or thousands of comments. So it could take me hours or days to do my homework and clean everything up, but I couldn't ask for a better, tighter set of leads that are interested directly in me and what I'm talking about. So we always want to like every single person that's in here. I mean, if they say that you're a jerk or something, maybe you not like it, but anything within reason, and sometimes you will get trolls sometimes. If it goes far and wide enough, you are almost guaranteed to get some stupid trolls, and that's just going to happen. And if they get out of control, you hit the 3 dots and you report them, and then it gets knocked out of your comments. So no big deal. But these are really easy to like. They're really easy to respond to. So it sounds like Chris knows this guy. And it looks like there was a little back and forth with Brad. That's really great. You know, I see he didn't write back here, and that's okay. If somebody leaves a short comment, I guess you don't have a total obligation to do it, but you get the idea. He's got most of it. This looks like just dumb spammer. So when you have the dumb spammer come in or the troll, that means that you've reached some level of success. So way to go, Chris. Awesome. Here's another one. And look, this is pretty good too, right? He mixed it up with a nice looking, I guess this is like an outing that you guys had a dinner or something, right?
Yeah, we had a company retreat.
Good. Okay, good. And we've got some hashtags here. We're doing this again. I don't know if that's super necessary. I get he's doing it. This is bad, but it looks like he took somebody's advice recently, because this is like linking out somewhere. This did pretty well. Okay, so this is like a company announcement. He's doing a lot of good pictures. That's really great. But it looks like these are the only posts he's ever done. So he's just getting started. Let's take a quick look at articles, which I was expecting to see the island. So that just means he's never written any long form posts. Patrick has, right? And I will tell you, when people are looking at your activity feed, that's going to matter. It doesn't mean that they're going to be like the best stories in the world, but they get indexed in Google and they're easier to find. And when we go into Patrick's profile, again, in the activity section, okay, there we go. You see right here, this is where it lists the articles. So it always gives it a prominent thing as opposed to these, which just kind of go on, and then it has its own article feed section. All right, so back to Patrick's stuff. Let's look specifically at posts. I feel like Chris is probably going to be our best performer yet. All right, so let's see. So Pat did something 2 hours ago. It's got 3 likes. I feel like these things, like the little pop-up inspiration-y things, I feel like that's more of an Instagram crowd. You'll have people that do it here, but I think that you'll usually get better results when it's more authentically you and what you stand for, as opposed to just doing this. It's not bad. Well, actually, let's see how bad it is. You notice there was the see more, right? So you should always be impactful enough to make people want to click see more. Like Chris's thing, right? Chris was perfect because it got like right to the point. It's like, a while ago I was a founder and I totally had a panic attack. The second you're reading that, you're like, hey, I may have some mental health problems now and then. Entrepreneurship is lonely, this and that. A lot of people can relate to it. And even if they've never had that happen to, maybe a loved one, or maybe they just find it interesting, okay? Mm-hmm. This is pretty good, but it's just, I don't know. I don't think that if I saw this in a feed that I would want to like it. No offense, Pat. But like, what is it telling me? Why do I want to go like, and I feel like there isn't even like openness. There's no room to almost like even have a discussion in it, right? So I think if Pat he doesn't have to get super personal. Like I think some people like share too much and it's weird, right? Like you don't have to tell everybody everything about your life. But like, you know, I'm glad that he's grateful to be alive, but like, it's almost like all of this is like just about him and like leaves off, well, what about everybody else that's listening in, right? So if there's Pat Peters' channel on LinkedIn with 2,300 listeners, why are they jumping in on it? I too actually happen to like the inspiration hashtag, so that might actually help a little bit, but I would go a little bit longer than this, a lot more custom and down to earth and room for expression. You could do more hashtags, but you don't have to. I think that's nailed. But just then getting not specific and then jumping into somebody else's quote, I don't know. And even, let's say he loves Steve's quotes. He didn't really tie in like why Steve, right? So it's a little disjointed and he's trying, but it's just kind of deaf. But at the same time, 3 people liked it. 2 of them are part of the same company. And I don't know if you know who this person is.
Yeah, she's a partner of ours.
There you go. So like,
so effectively the same. So
it's the kind of post where like everybody in your company and your cat and your brother are going to like it. And that's it. That's okay. It's a start. It's got a heartbeat, but we can do better than that. So this one did a little better. It got 12 likes. Part of why I think it did better is just, it's a kind of cool design aesthetic. It's some sort of filter on some sort of picture, which immediately stands out. But it's actually Dahlia that did the hard work, not Patrick. So pretty good in the fact that we've got all of this stuff. But there's better ways to do this. So if you're on a podcast, a lot of podcasters will use audiograms. So I can actually show you some over on my feed. But basically, it's a short video, usually 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, where it's like the cover art of the podcast. Sometimes it'll say information about who the guest was. And then it'll actually have like little like SoundCloud kind of bars on it with somebody talking and usually the transcribed words on it. I would rather see all that. It's certainly fine to call out the people that the podcast was. And in this sense, I think it is appropriate to have the page, but there's only 3 followers on it. So if it only has 3 followers, I don't think that's like really the end of the world. He talked a little bit about it. Again, I think we're all seeming to be a little too heavy-handed with Jump 450. I know that's where you work, and I know we're trying to get the attention there, but we are trying to personally be getting the attention. So I don't want to continuously do this. I shouldn't have to say this like every single one that we have. Shout outs are nice. And it looks like he missed, this forgot to be tagged. So he needs to go back in here and he'll have an edit button here where he can just retag it. It looks like that just didn't work right. Mm-hmm. And you got Jason. I know Jason. That's a cool place. Link to the podcast. I would prefer, again, to see this in the comments. And I don't like the way he shared it because he's sharing Dahlia's post. Now, if he shared Dahlia's post and then also did his own, that's a little better, right? Because he's supporting Dahlia, but I think if he's doing his own, he should do a standalone. Okay, so here's the podcast. Also, I see that they did this in Anchor. I do it in Anchor too, but you'll notice it's available in 10 platforms. Anchor is not the most popular thing. Most people, I would say, are probably going to listen to it on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and then a couple of the others. So I wouldn't have linked to it.
You'd share a different link.
Yeah. So what I do is I tell people links in the comments, and then I say, here it is on Apple, here it is in Stitcher, here it is in Google Play or whatever, and here it is in Spotify. And then I also have a website that you can just go and get whatever you want. I feel like a lot of people, they don't even know how to listen to podcasts, or they think that they have to have a special app. But if you have an iPhone, you already have like the podcast app. Like it's called podcast because of the iPod. Like Apple started that like a decade ago, right? And then everybody's got Spotify. Spotify just bought Anchor and Gimlet. So they have all podcasts of the world are like totally integrated into Spotify. So I don't like linking directly to Anchor, and I don't like linking directly out. That should be in the comment section. Podcasting is good. Fine. I don't think anybody's actually following that as a hashtag, but again, just totally overdoing it with jump450. I mean, I know that's where you work and like you guys are paying the bills, all that. Great. But like overdoing it, chill out. Advertising, good. Love what you do, good. But I don't know, like this doesn't feel like the love what you do type of thing. Love what you do should be like, you have like a really cool office culture and you're showing off pictures of the office and you're like 100 stories up in Manhattan and you're like overlooking Central Park and you've got like some swag hanging out or something. That's a love what you do. This seems like it doesn't seem quite right. Okay. So I think we've dug into that. Again, these seem like I'm not doing so much and I'm just kind of bringing up what other people did. They're not bad, but I think we need a little bit different angle. I'm almost thinking that Pat might do better with this kind of stuff if he just got on video and talked about it. I feel like that would come through better. And what's also cool is he could still, when you make a video, not only can you have the transcription of the video, but you can also put the short form post within the video. I feel like a lot of people will get turned on to that, actually. If you just do the video as opposed to putting some words on it, people are visual, but people want to see words. They want to see that interplay, or it's not going to work that well. You'll notice I actually forgot to say something before we move on. So you see right here, Dahlia does a great job of putting a couple of emojis. And this doesn't mean you're like a 13-year-old girl. It means that this is a visual separator to make you think like, oh, he's a rock star. Oh, that's a rocket that's shooting up. Oh, these are some cool bullet points. So like out of a page of words, it gravitates you to the points that are important. So I used to be very, very heavy in emojis, but I watch LinkedIn closely. And as I see things to start not working as well, I chill out with them. So you have some people like all over their profile, they put like 1 million emojis, but it's like, if you have serious Fortune 500s, I want them to take you seriously. So I like interspersing them like no more than this, really. Sometimes I'll put it on the top line or two before the see more. And if you're wondering how you get this to show up and you're doing it off of desktop, there's a website that's fantastic called Emojipedia. So you might not even know all of the emojis that are out there. You might not even know how popular they all are. I mean, did you know there's even something called World Emoji Day?
I'm not surprised.
Right? And this company, Emojipedia, actually did like a massive report on World Emoji Day, what people use, when they use it, which emojis they use together. It sounds like we're talking about nonsense, but it's not. And it's super weird how different things are. So let's just go with something as stupid as potatoes. Brian, have you lost your mind? Yeah, probably, but stick with me here. What I wanted to show you is, I don't know why we're
thinking about dinner.
Yeah, right. We're all just getting hungry. So it's important to read these notes sometimes, because if you have a brand new emoji, let's say like the brain emoji, or a few other things that are out there, those things are not automatically available on all character sets. So in a lot of situations, you'll actually just have a blank box. So I usually do not recommend those things. So we need to have things that were added probably no sooner than, let's say, 2018. So Unicode, I think we're up to like Unicode 12 or 13. So this is pretty old. If I want to use the potato, I copy it and I can, I'll just open a notepad here and there it is, right? Or if I was writing a post, you'll notice, oops. Here, let's just go back to the home screen. So if you see this right here, there it is. And you'll notice the way it looks. This is very important. I don't know why I was looking at this the other day. Like, the internet's weird, and apparently I was looking at potatoes for some reason. So this will show you what it looks like across every platform that has different emoji art. Microsoft sucks. Look at that. Like, what the hell is it? It looks like a kidney bean.
Apple, like a real.
Apple looks real.
Potato.
Google looks strange. Samsung's pretty realistic too. They look very much similar. WhatsApp kind of looks the same. Twitter looks like a kidney or something. Facebook's pretty good. Emoji One looks like a scary smiley face that's going to give me nightmares. And Emojipedia is another one. And then you've got the emoji decks with sad guy potato. So be mindful that things will look very different depending on what they're looking at things in. You'll notice, so what the heck what does this one look like, right? I don't even know. It looks a little different from all of them. It looks similar to Microsoft. And, LinkedIn is Microsoft now. So maybe that is, I think LinkedIn just uses whatever Microsoft does. Okay. All right. So use some emojis. They're pretty easy to do. I'm not just going to randomly post a potato. That would be weird. Okay. You want to go through any of yours while we're on it, Darren?
I don't really have much. Actually, I haven't really created any posts, but I've just liked.
Oh boy, yeah. Don't do that. All right. So please get your profile going, and then we can rock some of the actual content. But I think people love transparency. They love being real. They love getting to know you. And when you employ what I call closer to human, so you and I are not sitting in the same room. We're not sitting over coffee or dinner. That would be a much better interaction, right? Like, this is a little weird, but this is still much better than a phone call, and it's much better than like some horrible email or whatever. So people love to know the people behind the profile. You will do fantastically well in your sales journey just by being really effective in here. I'd like to show you also, we can go through some of my posts, and I also want to, before we're done for today, show you some of the friends of mine that are in the content creator community that I think are phenomenal in putting out regularly good content. And they're all a little different. I'm going to pull a few people that are on my sidebar. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but it'll show you like the people also viewed. So LinkedIn kind of figures out other people that kind of get into different conversations. I think we talked about this a little bit last time, so I'm not going to obsess over that. But let me just pull up a couple. Whoops, that was the wrong link. My apologies. Okay, so let's look at some of my content and some of the other people. So now I'm going to be critical on myself. So I'm closing in on 15,000 followers. And this will load in a second. While I'm loading, so Goldie Chan is one of the LinkedIn top voices. It's an award they give to a very small amount of people in a few different countries where they just think that you're really good communicators. Goldie's fantastic. I can't miss her. She's the one with the green hair. It's got a tremendous amount of followers.
Good brand.
Really good interaction. She's one of the few people in the world that actually has LinkedIn Live. So if you are following Goldie in your notification feed, you'll actually get a notification now if and when she's live. I'm actually going to be seeing her next week, and we're going to be talking about some of that stuff. She does a phenomenal job on everything visual. She always has very interesting, colorful outfits, backdrops, interviews, videos. This lady is so dedicated to the content creation community. It's ridiculous. There was a point, I think she made a video a day for like a year straight. I'm not going to recommend you do that. Like, I think that's like, wow, like, I don't even know how you can, you can do that. But yeah, just content machine. So like everything that she's putting out there does really well. I mean, she put this out 3 hours ago and she's already got just as much, if not more interaction than your president. So here's a video she did. And it's interesting, by the way, you can see the view count on other people's videos. I don't know if you ever noticed that. So interestingly, right? So you'll notice that she has the emojis to lead it off and just kind of intersperses it. She and I compare notes and we share a lot of the same philosophy. If you do LinkedIn video is a pretty common one. She picked a few other things. She's telling you where she's visiting right now. This is pretty good. No major criticisms here. And Daily Goldie is like her own hashtag brand kind of a thing. You'll notice her video, it's only 40 seconds long, right? You don't have to go crazy doing it. It's like...
Even like the selfie format, people still like gravitate towards that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a bit of disagreement on LinkedIn. So some people are like, if you're just selfie format, you're not to be taken seriously. So I will say with a grain of salt, like this isn't the brand for everybody. I'm showing you what some of the known people that are creating content do. Mm-hmm. So I would rather see a more professionally done video. You know who's really good at that? Let me find that guy. There's a guy named Coy, who I feel like he's got a much better video quality. I'll actually show you two people since you bring up that point. I think maybe she's just doing like too many videos to really do that better.
Yeah, she also looks like a much more social person as opposed to like.
Well, yeah, when you have green hair, you rock out whatever stuff, and you can wear like anime outfits and cosplay. That's the word. Yeah. Let's see. What was the guy I wanted to bring up? I can't think of the name. I'll give you a different guy. So here's a guy, Quentin. Quentin always wears this hat, so that's like part of his brand, and he has his little hashtag JustQ. I'm not in love with like the professional LinkedIn celebrity thing. Like, I don't think that you need to like be so cool that you have like that. You can if you want, but like, I don't know. I don't love it, but I understand why people do it. Again, really good following. But let's take a look at how he does video compared to what we just saw. This guy basically is like a branding consultant, has a little boutique shop out in, I think he's in Minneapolis. Okay, so this is like a behind the scenes thing about where he just spoke. This is not a good example of the video that I want to show you. Let's dig a little deeper. Here you go. So look at this one. Much better quality, right? And look at that. So he's got the closed caption. So some people use their phone and they'll use like Clip-O-Matic and different things like that, which is cute, but I like uploading the actual SRT file. That brings in a super crisp bar that you can see. And if you have disabilities, screen readers can actually capture that and read for you. So Goldie and I actually came up with a hashtag called Access for All to help the community if you can't actually, hear what's going on if you're deaf. Yep. So this got like 10,000 views, but some of these people regularly get much, much more than that. So the purpose, I wasn't just picking out this one, but just to show you, I think he takes videography to a much better level and photography to a much better level. Some people just kind of do, I think as the space gets more competitive and you have more content creators, I would expect to see better video quality like this, as opposed to like some of the stuff that Goldie does. But they appeal to almost entirely different audiences, right? I'd say a lot of the LinkedIn who's who know both of them, but I feel like some people would go more toward the camp of Quentin. Some people would go more toward the camp of Goldie. You would easily find it where people would like one and not the other. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, they're definitely different voices for sure.
So here's somebody else who's very different. I like her because she comes from a corporate experience in like, I think environmental development or something like that. And she was doing that for like 20 years. And now she does like tons of video stuff, but also teaches people sales stuff with LinkedIn. And she does the Fox Rocks, the little Fox thing. She's been blowing up a lot lately too. And again, her videos are, again, entirely different than the other two people. Let's see if we can bring one of those up while that's loading. And since we're coming up on the hour, I just want to show a few other people that I would tell you are just very good, authentic storytellers because people want to know the story. Lila Smith is really good at that. I think she's not so much video as some of the other people, and different people will kind of go on different things. Some people like photography. I myself, I'm much more of a document share person lately because it's been doing so well. Let's see if we can.
Yeah, we have like a number of case studies that we've made.
Okay.
Do you think that those are good documents to be sharing?
Can you send me them so I can look at it? Because I don't know. Yeah. Oh, hey, as we're looking, this is an audiogram. Remember we were talking about for what people do for podcasts? So this is actually a video. Sometimes it has words on the bottom, and that's just showing the voice. So if I turned it on, you would hear it. I feel like that's a better way to express when you have something like that. So yeah, Judy constantly has very good engagement. Like this video is 21,000, but I've seen hers get into like the hundreds of thousands before. So she's talking about the live video thing, and of course, a lot of engagement for that. She likes to do crap like this. I don't really like it. It's useful to show when you're speaking at different things. You get the idea. She has a lot of fun, does very good recaps of events. So I've seen her like just do like a 4-minute document of an event by video, and she'll be like at the 30-second mark, it's this person and this person, right? So all these things are really good. So she tries to mix it up with a lot of that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be perfect. And a lot of these things, when you're just kind of on the run while you're doing an event or something, are certainly good. But yeah, back to the document sharing thing. Everybody's been clamoring for me to do the document sharing because I can put in infographics and stuff. If you have anything that's visually compelling, I would love to see that. Yeah, I'd love to see that. It's not necessarily going to be your lead off content because you're trying to build the group of people following you and get personal with them. But once you start having an increase in following, I think as soon as you start, really doing everything I said with the profile and starting to regularly put out content, I would say at least a few times a week. You don't have to do stuff every day or multiple times a day, but I think a good rhythm and regularity of it is good. Okay, so I told you about Quentin. Michaela Alexis has been very good, similar to Chris's kind of a story. So she'll tell you like how she was a founder and how she started with all these crappy jobs. And then she used LinkedIn to like become the president of some company. And now she's out on her own and she's a keynote speaker. One of the best voices by far on LinkedIn and has the follower count to show for it. I think she is worth spending a lot of time studying. And I probably think more highly of her and her content than like any other LinkedIn creator, just to tell you. When I had a chance to do a panel on LinkedIn video in the summer in Texas, I brought her specifically as part of my panel because I knew she would just rock it. She has a really good knack for it. She like back when people were just doing like selfie crap and stupid photography, she would always just like have a much better insight on it. But she also like has a very good like analyst hat to her, and she is very good at like practical tips about LinkedIn also. So she's been a little quieter. She just had a death of a family member, so she's been a little quieter the last couple of weeks. But I think as soon as she gets back into the groove on it, she's definitely worth studying very much. I'm trying to go fast through different people and what they do. So she's trying to brand herself more around she co-authored a book, and her thing now is just speaking everywhere and keynoting. Like this is at Inbound, a big popular conference. She does a lot of LinkedIn activations and stuff. Okay, so that's that. Tim Salau, fantastic connector. And he's really good at like the community side of things. So he has one of the biggest Facebook communities, and he talks about that. He's worked at a lot of big companies. He's very young, like he just graduated college, and he's got like a ridiculous following. And I mean, you just look at some of the things he's done already. So right now he works at Microsoft. He used to work at Facebook. Like he's worked at like some ad agencies and stuff. So he's rising. He's just like a totally amazing rising star. And just like, I don't know, like I feel like he definitely does video. He does a lot of like very well planned out photography, but I feel like his superpower is really just community management, community building. So he's a very, very different voice from all those other people, and just really genuine, down to earth, great guy. These are all recommendations of people to follow, connect with, and analyze their content like it's your job, right?
Yeah.
And you like in here, he's got like all these branded things. He's just great all around at all that kinds of content.
Yeah, I'll definitely share all this with the team. And then if we have this recording, if you could send it over as well, that'd be awesome.
As soon as we're done, I'm gonna stop the share on that, and then just like last time, I'll attach it. I think I actually did it as a private Facebook video, so I'll upload that to a YouTube video. So I'll do that along with some notes and homework. Let's see, we got Lila, we got Judy. Brittany's really interesting too. I think she's more fashion and style. She used to be like one of Gary Vaynerchuk's like super growth people on the inside. So she did that for years. Gary wanted to hold on to her, and now since then she's just done her own stuff. Not as big a following as some of those other people, but definitely another interesting voice out there. Talked about Goldie. Whoops, that happens sometimes. All right, I was going to show you real quick. I don't have the document share stuff this week, like I said, but I think I might have even showed you last time. Like one of the recent ones I did had like almost 500,000 views already, and people went crazy over it. So I had a ton of, I mean, even this one with Amazon in it, had 31,000 views. So when I click on it, I have all sorts of analytics to go all over the place. And of course, Amazon's going to be looking at that like crazy. So if I want to sell to Amazon, I can just write about Amazon. So definitely, Darren, please remind everybody to finish up their profiles. We have to set a date for the next time. I'm not going to be available next week because I'm going to be at South by Southwest the 7th through the 14th. So
yeah, we're out next week as well, actually.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So the week of the 18th would probably make sense.
Yeah, so if you want to just double check with everybody, or I could just put it straight on the calendar, I would imagine that should be good just for the same date, same time, just following week of the 18th. Let's make sure everybody is down on getting the profiles done. And I would like, if possible, since you have 2 weeks, as homework, I would love a few examples of what you all are going to do for content. I'd love to see a short form. I'd love to see a video, some pictures. You can copy the way Chris did it, document shares. If you've got some case studies or something you want to show me, we really have to get started pretty hardcore on content. Today we did like a top view, looking at some examples of everybody that's been doing stuff. But I really want to start seeing some stuff from you, because we need to be effective on you guys, because we want to get that rolling. Cool?
For sure. Yeah, I want to send you over some of our case studies too. Like we have single like page infographics and then actual long form ones. So we can see how those look in terms of formatting. Make sure they make sense for you.
Absolutely. That sounds great to me. So before we wrap this up, any other questions for today?
I don't think so at this point. But
okay, I'll just make you feel bad.
So I'll ping you for sure.
By next time, we're going to get rid of that island, right? That island sucks. It's like, this guy is not serious about it. So
I'm a big beach guy, so I kind of like the island, but I'll change it up for you.
Yeah, you can write a post about how Brian Wallace yelled at you about, I'm a beach guy, but not that kind of beach or something.
Perfect.
People would like that, by the way. People enjoy, like when you actually have built any kind of relationship with people that are well-known in LinkedIn, they respond really well. What some people do is they'll go the wrong, I'll leave you with this. Some people, they'll look for like all the people with like all the big followings. Like there's this guy, Oleg. Look at this guy. So he's the CTO for the Globe and for Daily Mail, excuse me. And he's just like a monster. He's got like over 1.5 million followers. So anything he shares just gets like ridiculous kinds of interaction. And even if he shows up and likes or comments on one of your posts, forget it. Like you're going to go viral just because he showed up, which is insane, right? To like have that kind of power on the internet. But what some people do is if they're not connected with somebody and they don't even have any context, if you just like spam tag 50 people that are famous, nobody cares about that. So make sure that when you are tagging something like that, that it is appropriate. I think Oleg is also an interesting voice. I feel like he's a little more old school, but he's definitely like all about inspiration. The guy, like a number of us content creators were convinced he wasn't a real person because like he never shows pictures of himself and he never goes on video, but a few of us tracked him down and he's a real dude. So
Nice.
not to worry. Whatever, the internet's weird. It's entirely possible all this time he was a robot or something, but I'll leave you with that. And if we can all get as big and famous as him, we'll be reigning in sales. So we don't have to get this high. And remember, he's been at this for a longer time than you guys starting now. So, one step at a time. So if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to pack this up. And thank you so much for tuning in today.
Always. Thanks, Brian. Have a good time at South by Southwest, and we'll be in touch soon.
All right, awesome. We'll do, Darren. Have a great night.
All righty.
Hey.
Bye.